Baby, I just wanna show you off. Yeah. Come and show me what you all about. Made a promise to each other, we gon' hold it down. When you with me, you ain't got nothing to worry about. Come jump in with me, yeah, and we gon' ride off.
Welcome to Always Auburn with your host, Tyler Craig.
All right, we are back at you with Always Auburn, coming at you Thursday evening as the Auburn Tigers are getting ready to go on the road and face the Arkansas Razorbacks in what could be our first SEC win of the season. Sadly to say that, but hey, it is what it is. That's what's going on. Yesterday, I kind of recapped the Missouri game, looked a little bit into just all the speculations that we've been hearing this week as far as what Lane Kiffin said, the continuing conversation that we have about Hugh Freeze's future at Auburn and how it continues to remain uncertain, but with every new week, we continue to see a loss, and then we also see behind that nothing changes as far as coaching and who holds that position. So, once again, Hugh Freeze will take the boys on the road this week in efforts to get our first SEC win. There's a few things floating around right now as far as this game. First, I want to talk about the quarterback situation. It seems like this week more than ever, there's a possibility that we will see another quarterback outside of Jackson Arnold. And it's really interesting to me. I know it's got to be a coincidence. Don't get me wrong. Like this, you can't script things like this. But if you look back at last year, when did we see Hank Brown? Wasn't it the week of the Arkansas game? And now here we go again. We might see Ashton Daniels. We might see Deuce. I don't know. There's a lot of things going around about Deuce right now. Apparently, he deleted all his Auburn ties in his social media. It no longer says on his Instagram that Deuce Knight, quarterback at Auburn University. And he's also been posting a lot of things from as far as on his story about Notre Dame. So, is there a bit of conflict there? Is there a disgruntledness between Deuce Knight and the coaching staff? And does his future at Auburn look like it may not be what we had hoped it would be? I don't know. Nothing's came out about that. All you can do is speculate based on what you see. And what we've seen is that Deuce Knight has removed all ties from Auburn University on his social media biographies. Who knows? Coach Freeze talks about things have started well in the past few games with Jackson, but then there's been some pit stops, some downfalls with him as the game continued on. And this week, instead of continuing to throw him out there, if he so happens to face struggles, he has made it known that we'll probably see a replacement. So I don't know how all that looks. I don't know if that means you get a drive, and if you don't score, Ashton's going to get a drive, and we'll see how he does. And you might go back in depending on how successful he does, or you get the whole first half, you get the whole first quarter, and we'll assess your performance and go from there. I'm not sure. He did say it's just really a how it flows type thing. It's nothing in the game plan that says Jackson Arnold's going to get this many snaps and he's got this amount of time to prove that he's worthy to remain our starting quarterback through the rest of the game. Coach Freeze said today it's going to have to do with how it looks. And if it looks like we're not getting production out of Jackson Arnold at any point in the game, that there is a very strong possibility we could see a quarterback come in, and I think he's referred to Ashton Daniels in that situation. We would all believe that he would be the next man up considering the depth chart and how he falls in the depth chart. So I don't know what to think about Jackson Arnold, to tell you the truth. It does seem like he's improved, but I just don't know how much of a gamer this guy really is. Like, even, I don't want to use Thorne, but even Bo Nix, he struggled at Auburn, but you never questioned, and he struggled at the end of games. When there was opportunities for us to win the game at the end of the game, he struggled sometimes. But there was never a question if you wanted him out there in those situations, if he was a gamer. I mean, it all started his true freshman year when he made his first start at Auburn, and he scored a winning touchdown to beat Oregon at the end of the game, in which looked like a very confident play that he made. Something that is clutch and speaks volumes about your ability to handle the pressure and stay in the moment and be big when you have to be big. I don't think Thorne really had that quality, to tell you the truth, but I almost feel as if Jackson is worse off in that matter. I mean, to think about the amount of sacks he takes in these moments, every game it's the same story. And I know it kind of was with Thorne too, but I think there was a lot of bad kind of communication there between him and Coach Freeze, and I don't think everybody was on good terms really with the coaching staff and Peyton Thorne in general. But I don't know how much Jackson Arnold really looks to those moments. Like, even with Thorne, like, I saw a player at the end of games that he just let it all loose. I mean, you think about some of those interceptions in the Alabama game. Yeah, we hate to see it, but he threw everything he had at him. He did. There were plenty of examples. If you can go back and look, he threw what he had at the defense, and he wasn't taking a sack to lose the game if he could help it. I don't know with Jackson Arnold that, like, and I don't know if it's Hugh Freeze not setting them up right. I don't know if they don't communicate together right. I don't know, but there's something there. There's something there. It was apparent at Oklahoma last year when they benched him, and it seems like it's just carried over into Auburn. And because things just weren't wonderful to begin with, as far as when we played Oklahoma and we couldn't get out of there with a win, and he got sacked all those times, and then Texas A&M was tough. It's like he just keeps burying himself further in these types of moments. Now, he's okay at the beginning of the game when the drives are scripted and he's trying to find a rhythm, and there's some things that the defenses haven't seen early in the game that we throw at them, and it may we catch them on their heels a bit. Yeah, he's looked all right, but the moments in the second half when you really need him, he hasn't answered. We don't feel any confidence. The same. I feel the same amount of confidence right now when Jackson Arnold has the game in his hands as I did when Thorne had the game in his hands, and that's very little to none, barring a tip ball, something out of the ordinary goes your way, and we find ourselves on the end of the good luck train for once in a lifetime. Not in a lifetime, but for once in the past probably 5 years. So, and that's just not where you want to be with a quarterback. You want to have, especially with the money that we pay this young man, we want a quarterback who, when our defense does get a little gassed at the end of the game, and we have to get in there in a pressure situation and make a big play, that it's probable, not that it's maybe possible, that it's probable that this guy lives for this moment, that there's no doubt that he's going to make a play. And we just don't have that. I mean, it's clear. The confidence isn't there. It starts with the coaching staff and it reflects into the player. And the player really has had an issue with that already. Speaking about Jackson Arnold. So all that does is reinforce that same type of mentality that he's carried on for the past 2 years, really, in a sense. So I just don't know. I think when it if it starts to look any bit resemblant of what we've seen when the plays aren't scripted and Jackson Arnold has to think fast and he has to make good decisions. And if he doesn't do that, if he doesn't take us down the field and make some big time quarterback plays in big time moments early in the game, I'm not talking about late in the game, big time moments in the first half. I think you got to put him on a short leash because we need a spark. It's like baseball. You know, in baseball, when teams need a spark, what do on the offensive side of things? They put in a pinch hitter, someone who hadn't seen a pitch the whole game. It doesn't know anything about doesn't know anything about seeing the pitcher, none of that. But it's a spark. It throws the other team off, in a way. Baseball's a little different, but that's what they do. It's they're reaching in their bag for something. Something we're gonna change a little something. I've talked about playing cards on here, and everybody doesn't know about playing cards like I do. But sometimes you gotta, if you're playing spades or poker or something, and things aren't really going your way, you gotta change your deal up. Where you might hit them 3 or 4 times, you might only hit them once or twice, and run them a little bit, or stack them a little bit, or cut them before you do something different. Because he's cutting the hell out your cards over here, and we're not getting anything, and they're getting all the good cards. That's how things work. When it's not going well, switch it up. You might as well, because what do you have to lose at that point? And we never really gave Hank Brown a chance with that last year. I think we set him up for failure and then pulled the plug. I think Ashton Daniels could offer this team a spark. I watched a lot of his old film when he was at Stanford, and man, the kid looks good. He's thrown some picks. Yeah, don't get me wrong, but he's been in college football a while now. He's made some big throws. They say he's got a rifle of an arm. And he's probably better running the ball than Jackson Arnold is, to tell you the truth. So, and I think he's bigger. So let's get that spark. And maybe, just maybe, this is the sense of urgency that Jackson Arnold needs to feel. He might need to see it from the sideline a little bit. Because know what he did last year? When they did put him back in, he went and beat Alabama. Now, I don't recall how great that game was is on his end. I think Oklahoma played very good defense in that game. But at the same time, he won the game. After you benched him, he came back in games later. I think the other quarterback was hurt. I'm not even 100% sure why Jackson Arnold came back in. But they won the football game. And that was after he was put on the bench. Sometimes they need it. Sometimes they need to. So you can get coached on the sideline as a quarterback. You can sit over there with probably not Hugh Freeze because he's too busy doing 10,000 other things during the game. But your quarterback coach, you can sit over there with Derek Nix and Ken Austin, one of those guys. And we can talk calmly. And we can say, hey, you see how Ashton didn't even think twice. He knew Perry was fixing to be open right there. Pulled the trigger. It was out of there. Big play, first down. And things start to get simplified. You see that linebacker? Look, watch him every play that we run this. He's telling on himself. He's coming downhill. That's just an example. But it offers that opportunity if you take advantage of it. If you don't sit on the sideline and pout, which I'm not saying he's going to do that. And if our coaches really think far enough to say, even though Jackson's not in right now, we're fixing to coach him up. And you'd hope they would do that because it is such a good opportunity for these kids to get some growth. Because I don't think Jackson's a senior. I could be wrong about that, but we might. Hey, I know I'm looking way down in the future with this one, and who knows what all the coaching staff and all that looks like, but we paid Jackson Arnold a lot of money. And we've already seen, history tells us what Coach Freeze likes to do, what he do with Thorne. Well, let's bring him back one more year. You never know. So instead of benching him and giving up on the kid, let's coach him up from the sideline and try to make him better. It might go a little ways. You might see a difference in his performance. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see what happens as far as all that goes with quarterback play in Fayetteville Saturday. So they've also talked about the rain, which I was pleased to hear Coach Freeze said in his press conference today in his address to the media that they've been wetting the balls up, drenching the balls with water, maybe even more other things, slippery things other than water. Who knows? But they've been putting water, moisture on the ball to simulate what it may be like if the rain comes down Saturday in Fayetteville. That's great. Finally, I see you're talking about preparation, and I like to hear that. That might be improvement, Coach Freeze. So I was glad to hear that today. I think the weather, if it does rain and the weather gets bad over there, you got to think that favors Auburn. You have to, because we have a better defense. You would feel like now they have a better offense. Don't get me wrong, but the weather should limit their offense. You can't throw the ball as well. You can still throw it, but you can't throw it as well in rainy conditions when the ball's slick as you can when it's dry and the sun's out. It's just it helps the defense more than it helps the offense. So you would think that is beneficial for Auburn if the weather does play a factor in the game. So I think it's going to be a sloppy game in that sense with the weather coming, because more than likely you're just going to see a lot of running the ball. You might see some turnovers and some fumbles, but I'm not going to get too much into that because I'm going to save my pregame predictions and score predictions and the keys to the game for tomorrow. And again, I apologize. Just got off of work. I started a new job this week, and it's kind of just been all over the place with work. But I got a pretty high IQ with football. I know a lot about Auburn's situation right now, what they're facing as far as going on the road in Fayetteville. And I didn't talk about the quarterback conversation yesterday, so I saved that for today and really keyed in on that. And like I said a few minutes ago, I'm excited. I'm interested to see what it all looks like. We're gonna get a lot of answers now that we're out of the thick of this stuff with Oklahoma, A&M, Georgia, and Missouri, and now we're kind of in the lesser end as far as quality opponents. Now, don't get me wrong, they're still good teams, and they can still probably all beat us with the exception of Mercer. That's not what I'm saying at all. Arkansas might be favored right now. I know the line's like a point or a point and a half, and we're on the road, and the weather plays into it, and they would like nothing more but to beat Auburn again back-to-back years after all the years that Auburn dominated them in the old SEC West. So Arkansas is going to give Auburn their best shot. You can believe that. Bobby Petrino, I really don't think he likes Auburn all that much either. Just history and how we've all had the relationships there and how things never really panned out with Petrino at Auburn, even though we tried, it was tried, it was attempted. So I think he would like nothing more but to add a quality win to his resume, to pitch the idea to the Razorback faithful that I'm the guy for the head coaching position once again, and beating Auburn, someone we don't like, who has historically used us as a stomping point, beating them again back-to-back years. They'd like that. They wouldn't like anything more than that, to tell you the truth, over there in Fayetteville. So it's all these games are just as much winnable as they are losable. Kentucky, you saw what they did to Texas. Almost beat them. They're not a bad team. Mark Stoops coaches defense, and he keeps them in games. He keeps them in games. Vanderbilt, that's going to be a tough one. I hope we can pull that upset off. That'll speak volumes. And Mercer maybe is the only shoe in, and then Kalen DeBoer and the Tide come to town at the annual Thanksgiving weekend Iron Bowl. And I'm not counting Auburn out of that at all. At all. We got to see how things go. But starts this week. We really need to get a quality win on the road in the SEC. They're all at this point. Any SEC win is quality when you start 0-4. You got to get on the right side of the end of things as far as the win-loss column goes within the conference. And it needs to start this weekend on the road in Fayetteville. So I'll be back at you tomorrow to give you some keys to the game. It'll probably be another late show. And I'll give you a final score prediction and kind of hype the boys up, give us a little pep talk, headed in there. Drop a comment, man. Engage with me a little bit. Tell me what you think. Again, I apologize for not being present at the beginning of the week. Just a lot going on. But I'm here. I'm going to keep coming at you. And it's always War Eagle over here. Always Auburn. We'll catch you tomorrow.
One of the greatest players in college football history. Number 2, Cam Newton.
Thought I told you time and time again that we won't stop. Back and show by show, I'm trying to triple and double the pot. Move for at least 6 figures, a show or more for him on now. 6 figures. Pooping at 25 rows, all great interior whenever it's cloudy. Every day bit of my go from chasing health and wealth, not clout. Baddies under my belt, I cook like a chef on Mr. Chow. Ain't been going no speeds, but I spend G's whenever I browse. Mink on all of my